Well, this is my first attempt at putting up a video of my aquarium. I finally have noticed that there are some snails growing in here, must have been introduced with my plants. Everything but one container got rinsed under tap water before planted, but I had the bright idea of this clump over here of microswords over in the far left side. I decided to just plunk them in there, and I took some of the carob sea growth medium that I have and took a terracotta saucer that I have. It's not that deep, maybe about an inch deep, but put the carob sea in that, and I just planted put the micro swords on top of it and buried something that looked like runners. I'm not sure if I got roots in there or not, but hopefully it'll put down roots and grow from there throughout the rest of the tank. But I think that's how the snails got in there, because I put the whole container that I got from the pet store. I'm not going to say their name because they're good people. I mean, they already told me there might be snails in there, so yeah, I bought this with the idea that maybe there could be, but this is the first animal life in the tank that I knew of, that I can see anyway. There could be other microscopic protozoans in there as well, but I doubt we've introduced anything valuable yet that could be used for fish food yet. But other than the snails, and that's for loaches, and I don't think I want loaches. I think an assassin snail seems more appropriate to me. But I'm trying to find a snail. I'm looking from behind the camera here, trying to see if I can see one. Every once in a while, they'll crawl up on a rock or on a piece of slate, and it'd be very obvious. So they've been all over the tank, but I can never see more than 4 or 5 at once. But I'm seeing them so broadly distributed, I have to believe that there must be maybe 10 times that amount. So, and I don't know that they all have shells already. So that means they've been hatched for some time already at this point. And I doubt that the snail will grow a shell that quickly from the time that I planted those. So they were probably, mixed in with the rock wool already, young adults. And anyway, mollusks in the tank. The bottom of the food chain is being established, at the very least here. So, and at the same time I'm establishing this tank, I'm trying to work on making this the groundwork for establishing a set of tanks. Oh, here we go. There's a snail up here. Where do you see him? Let me make sure you see him here. Let me see. I think this is, I went the wrong way. I think I had the video maxed out there. There, now we're maxed. Anyway, he's crawling up here. There he's in the frame. Not very much in focus, but you can see that's the underside of a snail. You can see his little feelers out there in front of him. he's got a shell. It's a really dark colored. I was kind of surprised it'd be so dark, but considering the hardness of the water here, I figured it to be, less so. But part of what I introduced into the tank is this uh, growth medium from carob sea, which I believe is some sort of volcanic type of base. So who knows? Maybe that's why, part of why the shells are so dark. They picked up a mineral out of the volcanic rock somehow besides. They've got some really dark, interesting shells. I have no idea what the pH or the hardness or anything else in terms of the chemistry is going on with this tank. You can see this guy's a little active here. He's kind of cruising around. He's climbing down the side of the tank, and he's moved quite a ways. He's moved a couple of feet, I would guess, in just the time I've had the camera on him. So these are pretty fast-moving snails. If anybody knows what they might be, it's possible they came in on, like I said, those micro swords that I did not rinse under tap water. I just threw them in the tank to keep them alive, thinking I was going to maybe plant them in a different tank, and then just slowed everything down on this thing and just kept everything in the same tank, and decided, I really need to get these things in the, in some kind of growth medium maybe, and maybe get them to take off and see if I can, because the other group is planted on the other side, and I'm not sure they're doing so well. I don't know if we just don't have enough light there, they're further away from the light, or what the deal is. I don't believe I put growth medium under there. They're just plunked straight down into the substrate without the carob sea, and it's just kind of a test to see what they would do, how hardy these little devils are. Now, the sword plants over here are all divided off of one main plant, which is in the center of the focus at the moment, but there's a couple of more little ones I'm hoping that it, developed it from this, because this was just bought in a big box store, and all they did was apparently they grabbed enough stems together and rubber banded them and sold it as one plant. And this being the first time I had bought any such thing in 40 years, didn't look to see for any kind of weights or rubber bands or anything like that. And I would have figured, if anything, it might be weighted, but there were no weights. I couldn't find weights on anything, actually, which is good. No lead weights. I'm glad to see that it's not being done anymore. But anyway, there was a rubber band I finally had to take around from the bottom of that plant. I was starting to get some root rot. I wasn't getting it to respond yet. Thought I was getting rid of part of the plant, and it ended up alighting against one of these sponge filters, and next thing I know, it looks like what I have is a rhizome with a little green sprig coming out of it that's attached to this one stem. And so I planted that, and then I subdivided that plant again after so I may have as many as 3 or 4 different plants come out of that one. Now, the other plant I bought at the big box store is this little sword plant over here. As you can see, I picked some of the big leaves that have died off, but as you can see, it's got some new growth there. That's all new growth, all those new leaves right there in the past 2 weeks. So that's all new growth right there. These little leaves right here in the middle of this sword plant, that's new growth. Sagittaria, I mean, let's leave the camera angle. It's the same orientation. I don't want to. I'm going to have to do some editing, aren't I? Anyway, the dwarf Sagittaria from the local pet shop, as well as the microswords, they seem to all be doing well in some way. Like I said, I've got an experiment going on here between being placed straight into the medium after letting them sit for a while in the tank and seeing all kinds of runners and stuff come out. And then this that I tried to separate and plant, and it was just too hard to separate. Even under the faucet, yeah, I've had a hard time with these, what are called microswords. Now, what I had before were called at the time dwarf or pygmy chain swords, I think, or dwarf chain swords, or pygmy chain swords, or a combination thereof, whatever. Regardless, that's not what these are. This is not the same plant. This over here may be that plant. And if that's true, it'll be sending out runners and growing profusely all over the bottom of this tank like crazy. I expect this to be my bigger sword plant, but those are two different varieties, and I didn't retain the little informational sticker. See, I kept my information on my Sagittarius sublata and my micro swords. So, but I didn't keep it on my two species of is it Echinodoris? Like I said, I've got, one kind of held together as one plant. And it was clear it was just one plant, the way it was connected. Whereas, they did a good job of hiding the rubber band, in the mess that was at the base of what this bigger, more expensive, supposedly, plant was supposed to be. And it's the cheaper, smaller plant that's doing better. So be wary when you're in the big box stores. And it was a different kind of material than the rock wool you'll see that comes from most of the places that deal in aquarium plants. Some kind of gel material. And the packaging shows it's been in there for goodness days, if not weeks. Days, if not weeks, in that packaging, kept alive somehow. So beware, or be wary. Anyway, tomorrow I intend to probably get go in here and finish aquascaping. I got a big piece of wood that's been soaking outside that's still giving off tannins like crazy, but I guess if I want to finish aquascaping this tank now, I've got to either figure something else out to put in there, or go with what's in here now and not worry about aquascaping this, just using this basically to grow plants in, and put more of my growth medium in there. I got a new strategy for that, by the way, suggested by one of my fellow YouTubers. I am not trying to compete with any of these guys that are running a channel. I just wanted to post this up here. I have a link from my blog. So anyway, this is what's going on in my world. And this is a 3 foot by 18 inch world. It extends from this end, which I propose to be the stream I'm proposing that this is a stream and this is an inlet into a little cove and an embankment that's been flooded. And we're going to try to approximate a South American biotope. It depends on what kind of fish I get, what area, what biotope, I suppose is going to be portrayed here. I almost said modeled. Being a model railroader, there's some interesting aspects of having had some experience there that have played into how I'm going to finish aquascaping this tank. And one of those things is getting some verticality to your bottom scape. I notice most of these people leave, the bottom itself really flat, and then they got stuff poking up in the middle like a big island or something. I propose you can give your animals that you introduce into your biotope, your little enclosed ecosystem. I propose that you can give them a lot more room to roam around than what the confines of the tank itself will allow if you contour it a little bit. Add some interest by putting a backdrop in there. I think you'll notice one of the things that I haven't had in previous pictures, at least that I've posted, is that I have put my wife's work back there, her needlework. She made a snuggle up or something that's just it has the right pattern on one side, and can I use this for a while? And she said okay, and I got a big piece of cardboard salvage from the work being done here around the house. The cabinet had come in, and this big box, and salvaged the big piece of cardboard and attached this piece of cloth, double-sided. It's kind of fancy. I don't think it's going to be permanent, but it's kind of fancy. Anyway, I finally got full 3.0. That's my maximum magnification here. So from this distance, and where it seems that I can kind of keep some sort of depth of field here as you're looking across the tank. Like I said, this is a 36-inch by 18-inch by about 16.5-inch tall tank, depending on where you want to put the water line up here. I've got the black border up here. I don't have the bare glass like so many people do. And I have a top, as I know you've all become aware. There's a top up there, so I'm nowhere near getting to the top of the tank in terms of the plant growth that the Sagittaria is trying to reach up there, and this is supposed to be some sort of short form. Every one of the small plants that I seem to separate off of this one big plant, and there was a bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of them you can see right here in the foreground. You see that little terracotta rim that where the other sword plants container, and there's a great big terracotta container under the Sagittaria. The main bunch is there, and this other Amazon sword. And I believe even that little bit of Sagittaria, that dead sword plant leaf, is coming from that rhizome that's deep down under the soil here. I don't know if you can see down here, but anyway, I think I can see something green coming up in there in the middle of that mess if I look. And if I can see it on the video, I'll include this piece of the video, but if I don't see it in the video, I won't include it. I'm just taking a chance here, because finally maxed it out and finally figured out how to angle some of this stuff. I had to turn off my monitor behind me though. That was kind of a big deal. By the way, I'm doing this on my phone for now. I don't have anything better than this right now, and it's not bad. It's a Pixel 5, uh, which has a fair camera, I think. But I'll let you all judge for yourselves, at some point, and you see, how well the colors come through and whatnot. I'm trying to keep the colors looking as natural to daylight as possible in here. I have 5,000K lighting in the room itself. There's a lamp above the tank that's got a 5,000K bulb in it. Now I have an Aqueon lamp without looking at a nameless big box store. I just picked up and threw in my basket and bought for over $100. But if it's programmable, I'm not going to say what brand or what store, but it's programmable. It has white LEDs, it has red, blue, and green LEDs, and you can have just a couple of blue LEDs lit at a time, I guess, to simulate star and moonlight, I can guess. I don't know. Right now it's simulating apparently a waxing gibbous moon that goes down before say about midnight. So there's just a little bit of moonlight, after the other lights go out the way this is programmed right now. I don't know if blue light's good for the fish or not. I know it'll keep people awake. So if anybody knows anything about using, blue LEDs only, even just for a dim light in the tank, let me know. Or am I misusing how these lights are programmed? Somebody has an idea. I didn't see anything in the fine manual, but I'm not one for reading the fine manual usually. So I really didn't look that hard to see how to program these. I just started punching buttons. I looked in the manual far enough to see how to, what the protocol was for how to punch the buttons, basically. And then I just went from there. And once you figure out the protocol, you can figure out the rest. It's just like any other programming. If you've ever done such, you know what I mean. Anyway, I'm about to tie this up for now. This is long-winded as it is, 23 minutes of video right here already. So I guess I'll upload it to my computer and edit it there, or maybe I'll edit it somewhere else. But for God's sakes, you're not going to listen to me ramble about everything. But I will include this last statement, just so you know that I do ramble. I do have that tendency. Have a good day or good night. Signing off.